Hello, this is Ms. DB, and today we're going to learn about rational exponents. Those are exponents that are fractions. We are going to evaluate and simplify expressions containing rational exponents. So remember that the radical symbol, the square root symbol, is used to indicate a root. The index is the little number that is inside of that little gap there. If there is no gap, it's a square root. It's like a little 2 is there. But if there is a number there, then that little number tells you what root you're taking, like the third root or the fourth root or so on. So since 2 to the third power equals 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8, the cubed root of 8 equals 2, because that's the number that is cubed in order to get 8. So the roots undo exponents. We can also write nth roots by using fractions as exponents. For example, if b is greater than 1, we can just write, here, let me go through this a little further. We can square both sides, and b to the 1 equals b to the 2k. And then we can solve this, and we find this is a long way of saying that the square root of a number is equal to that number to the 1/2 power. So if you have the square root, it's the 1/2. If you have the cubed root of some number, that's equal to x to the 1/3. If you have the fourth root of a number, that's equal to x to the 1/4. So instead of writing the root symbol, you can use a fractional exponent. And that's what we'll be working with today. It is also good to remember that if you are taking the square root or the cube root or any kind of root of 0, your answer will be 0. If you're taking the root of 1, you'll get 1. So in other words, 0 to any power is equal to 0. And 1 to any power is equal to 1. All right, so here it is with the definition of a fractional exponent. A number raised to the power of 1 over n is equal to the nth root of that number. So 3 to the 1/2 is equal to the square root of 3. 5 to the 1/4 would be the fourth root of 5. 2 to the 1/7 would be the seventh root of 2. This little number here, the denominator is that number there. For square root, we don't put a 2 there, we just assume it's a 2. We use those so often that we just write the root sign without the 2. And then here's the definition in algebra. So here's some examples where we're just going to be simplifying, and this is like most of your worksheet. So in A, it's 343 to the 1/3 power. That's the same as the cubed root of 343. So it might help you to think about it that way, whichever way it helps you to think about. So we're really looking for what number to the third power is equal to 343. And you might have to get your calculator out and try some different numbers. So maybe you try 5 to the third power, and that's 125, so that's too small. And then you can try 6 to the 1/3 power, and then you'll try 7 to the 1/3 power and get 343. So these will be integer answers, they're not going to be decimals, and you might have to do some trial and error to find the answer that works. Most of them will be small numbers, like less than 10. Okay, 32 to the 1/5. That means, what is the fifth root of 32? In other words, what number, for this part here, could I take to the 5th power that would be equal to 32. I'm looking for that missing number there. So again, get your calculator out and try some different numbers to the power of 5 and see what you get. And you'll see that 2 to the 5th power is 32. So that means that the 5th root of 32 is 2. The square root of 9, you should know. 9 to the 1/2 power is the same as the square root of 9, and that's 3, because 3 squared is equal to 9. And then you would just add these two parts together, and you would get 5, and then that's it. So to do problems like B, you find each of these parts separately and then add after that. Just more practice here. 81 to the 1/4. That means what is the fourth root of 81? In other words, what number to the fourth power equals 81? So it's not 9, because 9 to the fourth would be 9 times 9 times 9 times. That's too big. So try smaller numbers. 2 to the fourth power is too small. That would be 16. So try 3. 3 to the fourth power is equal to 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is 81. So that one works. So that means that this is equal to the fourth root of 81 is 3. This one in B, this means what is the square root of 121 plus the fourth root of 256. So you figure each of those parts out separately, and then you add those together. Remember that each of these will be integers. You can't really use your calculator to do fourth roots. So you have to figure out what times what times what times what, or what to the fourth power is equal to 256. You can use your calculator to help you try some different numbers. And you will find that that is 4. So the square root of 121 was 11. The fourth root of 256 is 4, and then you just add those two parts together. So here's your worksheet problems. You'll see that you're going to do some, and this isn't all of the worksheet problems, but this is some of them. You're going to do some where you have just find the different roots of the numbers. So this means what times what times what equals 8. So you're looking for what is that number to the third power that would equal 8. So you take the cubed root of it to find it, and you'll get 2. These are fourth root. So what is the fourth root of 16? In other words, what number to the fourth power would equal 16? Well, that must be a pretty small number. Like I said, most of these answers will be small numbers. The exception is number 7. When you take the square root of 400, that one will be bigger than 10. And in 16 through 21, it's really the same thing, except that you're going to do this twice, and then you'll add or subtract your answers because of the operations in between them. So let's look at number 19. No, let's do 20. In number 20, we have the square root of 144. That's 12. Minus the cubed root of 125. So we have to find that number that when you cube it, when you take it to the third power, you get 125. And that ends up being 5, so then you just subtract and get 7. 12 minus 5 is 7. Okay, now sometimes you will have a different numerator than 1 for your root, for your power. So in these cases, you can do this like this. This is the easiest way. If you have b to the 1/3, or b to the 2/3, write that as b to the 1/3 to the second power. So another way of looking at this is we have the cubed root of b squared, and we can work with that. Let's look at an example. All right, so if we have 81 to the 5/4, we can break that down. We can say that's the same as 81 to the 1/4, and then take that answer to the fifth power, because 1/4 times 5, that is equal to 5/4. So I can break it down like that. So 81 to the 1/4, that's the same as the fourth root of 81. And for that, we're looking for what number to the fourth power equals 81. We did this problem already. It was 3. So that part is 3. I still have to take this to the fifth power. So now my problem is 3 to the fifth, no fractions there, and you just have to figure out what is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now you can use your calculator for these. You can get your computer calculator out or your handheld calculator out. Here is how I do it with this computer calculator. If I want to do 3 to the 5th, I'm going to clear this and then go 3, and then I click the X to the Y button, and then 5. So 3 to the 5th is equal to 243. And there's the answer there. This calculator does not have a button to do fractional exponents. If you're holding a handheld one, you might. So you might be able to do these a little bit easier. The next problem is 3,125 to the 2/5 power. But that is the same as 3,125 to the 1/5 power, and then square that whole thing. So we need to find the 5th root of 3,125. Let me show you how I would do that with that calculator. All right, so I'm looking for what number to the 5th power would equal 3,125. So let's just try 5. 5 to the 5th. Whoops. I guess I already have 5 in there. 5 to the 5th is equal to, hey, I got it in the first try. Now I guessed 5 because it ended with 25, and that's a multiple of 5. But maybe I would have tried 4 to the 5th, and that number's too small, so then I would have went to that anyway. So the 5th root of 3,125 is 5. And then you just have to take 5 squared and get 25. Try these two problems, pause the video, and then check and see if you got the right answer. All right, so for A, you should have gotten that the 4th root of 16 is 2, and then 2 cubed is equal to 8. So you should have got 8 for your answer for A. In B, you should have got the answer of 1, because the 5th root of 1 is still 1, and 1 cubed is still 1. Here's another example to try. You should have found that the 3rd root of 27 is 3, and then 3 to the 4th power is 81. We've done that one a couple times now. Here's some problems from your worksheet. Let's try number 13. 16 to the 5/2. That's the same as 16 to the 1/2 power raised to the 5th power, or the square root of 16 raised to the 5th power. The square root of 16 is 4. 4 to the 5th power, I'm not sure what that is, but I could use the calculator and find the answer. So all of these problems will be done that way. Take the, hey, these are the same. Take and break your fraction into 1/2 to the 3rd power, or in this case 1/4 to the 3rd power, or 1/2 to the 5th power, so in each case, and then figure out the part in the parentheses and then raise it to the power on the outside. So this one will be 8, because you'd have the square root of 4, which is 2, to the 3rd power, and you'd get 8. We're going to do just a little bit more work with roots here. If we are going to simplify when there's variables, this is how we're going to do that. So if we have the 4th root of a to the 4th, b to the 20th, that's the same as a to the 4th times b to the 20th, all raised to the 1/4 power. Now our properties that we used, that we learned about in 7.3, tell us that we have to take that power and put it on each factor. So we have a to the 4th raised to the 1/4, and b to the 20th raised to the 1/4. And then our power of our power property says that we should multiply these exponents. So 4 times 1/4 is 1, and 20 times 1/4 is 5. So this all will simplify to a to the 1 times b to the 5th. So these are kind of fun to do. This whole mess simplifies to a times b to the 5th. In example 4b, this looks complicated, but it's really not going to be bad at all. So first of all, the square root of y squared, that's equal to y. The square root undoes the exponent being the exponent of 2. When you raise something to the 2nd power, the square root undoes that. We also have that x to the 6th times y to the 4th is being raised to the 1/2 power. So we use our power of our product property to multiply each of those exponents by 1/2. So we end up with x to the 3rd times y to the 2nd, and then there's that y from simplifying this part. And then we would combine our y squared times y to the 1 by adding their exponents, and we end up with x to the third times y to the third. So we've used all of our properties that we learned about, and you've also learned how to simplify roots. There's a few problems on your worksheet like this, so you will just change this to a fractional exponent, and then you will simplify by applying that power to each factor, and then multiply the powers times the power you multiply, and you will get your simplified answers. And that's what you will get for number 24, a to the fourth times b to the second. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great day. Thank you very much.